Hello, hello. Ryan is here. Are you still here? Thank you for coming through. Thank you. Excuse me, you guys. Please excuse me. My voice is a little hoarse. I don't know. Trying not to come down with something, but I am coming down with a little something, but really trying hard not to. What's up, everybody? Hope everybody's having a good Sunday. So I figured today would be like around this time would be a good time to talk a little bit more about the origins of Christian Zionism or even Zionism itself. So just kind of like an easy Sunday talk kind of thing, just for extra information. Now, let me just check my um, technical stuff, my audio, and then we'll get started. Great to see you too, Ryan. Thank you for coming through. Thank you. Ryan is my friend from Saturday Night Hypnosis. That's where we're always on Saturday nights with Hypnotic. Uh, Ryan is there. Excuse me. Um, we're gonna get through this though. I have some clips for you guys. I have everything. So we're going to get through this. I probably should send out the invites or something. Mm, Thank you. All right. April's hot pink honey hole is here too. Guys, please hit the like button. Please hit the like button. I should run my banner on the bottom to say to hit the like button. Let me just edit this real quick. Um yeah, run my little banner. And subscribe. All right. Totally gonna be chill this Sunday. So totally gonna be just chill. Okay. Now, excuse me, but we're gonna get into like real information. So to start, just a couple things. Number one, with me, like I always say, my channel is about the inconvenient truth. Okay. Because the truth is not, it's not nice. It's not always friendly. It's not always easy to speak, but it cannot be, it can't be forgotten. So for me, like I always say, the 33-3 that, that you see on that girl Casey, like on my logo, it says it's from Job 33:3. My words come from an upright heart. My lips sincerely speak what I know. And that's really how I feel. I feel like we have to talk about important things. I feel like um excuse me, I feel like they're not easy to talk about, but I feel like I'm called to talk about them. Okay, so that's what I'm here to do. Now, as a just a quick, you know, just a quick reminder or disclaimer or whatever, Zionism, and we're really going to try to stick with the Christian Zionism, but we're going to talk about all the Zion, well, not all the Zion, we're just going to talk about like the Zionism as a whole, but I'm really going into the Christian aspect because I was very shocked to find out this was a thing. I never heard of this growing up. I did not know like we were supposed to give this blank allegiance to a state of Israel. I did not know that in order to get in heaven, right? So I was like, I was baffled when the first time I heard this was back in April. It wasn't even with this conflict. Like, that's how much this is an ingrained feeling, an ingrained uh, movement, involuntary thought for many Christians, that it wasn't even during the conflict when I heard this. It was on a regular conversation when I was saying, yo, Ron DeSantis is writing hate speech laws about anti Semitism. This is a no no because that broadens up. It's going to control speech. I thought we didn't like that. And people are saying, well, if you're Christian like me, you know that we have to protect Israel in order, to if we want to go to heaven. And I was like, well, I've never heard of that all my life. And then now with the conflict, it's really brought this topic to the front lines, front face, like Christian Zionism. And I'm like, this is a Christian heresy that is very detrimental to a Christian's afterlife, to your life with the Lord, to your relationship with God, to think like this. And not only is this a thought, it's like a whole movement with a lot of money behind it. Okay. A whole movement that does uh it does tell like it I don't want to say fully control. Yeah. It pretty much like controls the way our government moves. Okay. This is a problem, and it has to be stopped. And the only way to stop it now, we're not going to say it's going to be stopped tomorrow. No, but it's with talking now. We have to talk. Like I said, like I always say, like I'm not here to necessarily just say this conversation is just going to end something. I'm here to start the conversation. We have to be able to talk about these things. Okay? We can't be afraid anymore. And when I first started my channel, I remember saying like, "Oh, I don't want to push religion on people. I don't want to push religion on people." And it's not, thank you. And it's not that I'm pushing religion, but the conversations are happening. And to be honest, Christians have been taking a back seat to everything. Been all keep We keep trying to be so diplomatic and free will, free will, free will, which I totally believe in, but it's to the point where we've allowed a lot of things to happen. We didn't say anything, so is I want to start the conversations, all right? But just as a few points, um, not every Zionist is a Jew. Not every Jew is a Zionist. Excuse me. That's gonna be annoying. Sorry, y'all. So yeah, obviously we're talking about Christian Zionists, so we already know, right? That's not every Zionist is a Jew, not every Jew is a Zionist, okay? And to be anti-Zionist is not anti-Semitic, okay? Not that I even need to be told that it's not anti-Semitic. I'm gonna keep it all the way funky. Like, by the way, all the labels these last couple of weeks, I don't care. I don't care. So, but it is, you're not being rude to any type of, any kind of moral way to be anti-Zionist. And um, to be honest, Protestant Zionism is older than Jewish Zionism. All right. So first, I want to start with, because we have to start with the origins a little bit. So I'm gonna play this video. I'm not gonna play the whole thing. I'm gonna skim through because I found this video on YouTube. This man, he is a Catholic. I had to go to the Catholics for this because they are on top of it. They are, because to be honest, Protestantism is, quote, a heresy of the faith of for the church. Me personally, I don't believe it because I am a 7 Days Adventist. I'm not Catholic, so I'm not going to believe that. But you know, but I kind of get his point too, because he was like, Protestants believe that anybody should be able to interpret the Bible, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, that's your relationship with God. You shouldn't need a middleman. But to see how far this has, spawned off into something else, it's like there's a part of me that's like, yeah, I kind of can understand why he's saying that, right? But here we are today, and there are some of us who can start to wake up the masses and start to say like, yo, your relationship with God has nothing to do with the state. All right, so um yeah, I do need to get back on reality based, because this we have a lot of reality based things to talk about. So let me put on this brother here, and I made some notes on where he starts, because we're not gonna watch his whole thing, because we would be like, it would take, he had to break it up into two parts. When you start talking about the origins and everything of all of this, like, he had to break it up into two parts, because it's that, like, it's that deep, it's so, the way it's broken down, how this all started. Hold on, let me go to the first part though.
Very anti-Zionist. To be anti-Zionist is not to be anti-Semitic.
My computer's doing this dumb stuff again. Wait a minute. Oh no, maybe it's not. Wait. Hold on. This is what happened the last time. So annoying. So I had to go to system. For some odd reason, it always wants to make it go there. Like, it's so weird. So we start a little bit at the beginning. This, matter of fact, so just to give him all the credit, this is brother Andre Marie. He's, a Catholic who's very well educated, very knows what he's talking about. You know what I mean? Very full of knowledge, and I'm not, afraid to go to other sects of Christianity to find out what we need to find out. So we're gonna look at a few parts of his video, and then we're gonna bridge over to current day issues. Maybe play some song in the beginning.
Welcome to Reconquest on the Crusade Premium Channel, part of the Veritas Radio Network. This is Brother Andre Marie coming to you from St. Benedict Center in Richmond, New Hampshire. Our websites are Catholicism.org and Reconquest.net. My email address is bam@Catholicism.org. I can also be found easily on Twitter at Brother_Andre, and you can also find me on Facebook. Just search for Brother Andre Marie, and you will find one of my two Facebook incarnations. Tonight's show
You said that
is
like button for me.
entitled Christian
I'm being
Zionism,
suppressed. I know I am.
Tracing the Lines of a Warmongering Heresy. As I'm about to talk about a subject that is very controversial, and some of you have probably already screamed or fallen on the floor or something, just hearing me introduce the name of it, I want to be very clear, and I want to make some distinctions and make some very clear statements that neither the title nor any of the things I'm going to say in here get misunderstood. And in order to do that, I really need to be I really need to go from something of a little script here so that people don't get misapprehensions. There are multitudinous landmines one might step in any point of this discussion. I want to approach it, although there's going to be some history here, quite a bit of history. I'm going to approach it primarily as a theological issue, which it is. It's a theological issue that has current, very real world, very geopolitical, very military ramifications. As the title suggests, it's not just left in the realm of theory, but world peace is actually not only threatened, but undermined and in some ways destroyed by this ideology. But it begins as a heresy. It's a Christian heresy. So I'm not really talking about Judaism here. I'm talking about a Christian heresy. So the show is going to be deeply critical at a fundamental theological level of Christian Zionism. Christian Zionism as such is a Christian heresy within Protestant circles. Unfortunately, it's been imported into the thinking of many Catholics. It's not in itself Jewish. In fact, as we'll see, Protestant Zionism is much older than Jewish Zionism. Not every Zionist is a Jew, and not every Jew is a Zionist. Let me say that again. Not every Zionist is a Jew, and not every Jew is a Zionist. That's just a factual statement. Nobody could disprove that because I could point to real living people who are Zionists and not Jews, and I can point to real people who are Jews and not Zionists. In fact, I can point to real people who are Jews who are very, very, very anti-Zionist. To be anti-Zionist is not to be anti-Semitic. And an anti-Zionist is one who is opposed to the hostile and bloody takeover of Palestine by European Ashkenazim, a process that killed and disenfranchised numerous Palestinian Arabs, both Christian and Muslim. Ashkenazim, of course, being a certain type of ethnic Jew from Europe, generally of Polish.
So now, when this man who's talking has done his research, he has links to all of his articles and like all of his sources that he's using too. Okay, and I am going to be reading one of his links, the origins of the Israel lobby into our government, because again, this is all tying in with where we are today and how people can close their eyes to a current situation that's going on just to save, just to say that they're doing it for God,
Polish or German descent. Further, to be anti-Zionist is to oppose the continued expansion of the State of Israel at the expense of the rights of the Palestinian people, both Christian and Arab, and to oppose the unqualified and unquestioning financial and military support that the United States of America lends to this project of an ever-expanding State of Israel.
All right, let's move a little bit, because he goes into what he talks about. Though in the beginning he says that like this kind of thinking, this kind of Zionistic thinking is not American. It's not. It's actually been detrimental to America. Christian Zionists who are saying we have to go fight these wars to save Israel. Well, a lot of our men come back broken, especially from the Iraq war. They have a lot of PTSD. A lot of our men don't come back. What is it all for? What is it for? If we're doing it just on this notion of, we're just going to war for Israel because it's in the Bible, like 3 words in the Bible that people are taking out of context. And I'm going to be doing a lot of jumping because I don't want to get like all in the weeds, because let me tell you something. This conversation is a deep one. It is a deep one. It is like absolutely deep, but I don't want to, like I said, I want to get all in the weeds with it.
Love God and love their neighbor and go to heaven, because without the Catholic faith, you cannot be saved. Without being in the Catholic Church,
All right, so
you
he's saying basically like this type of the Christian Zionism is not safe because without being saved you can't go to heaven. It's not about no, he's saying what I usually say. Like when people say we have to bless Jewish people, they technically as Christians you're supposed to bless them by trying to convert them to Christianity. Christians are supposed to convert everybody to Christianity, right? He's going to say to Catholic faith, and he's saying like you can't go to heaven without being a Catholic. I don't say that. So you're saved through God's grace and salvation, but this is his video. And yes, I will put the link in the description. I'll pin it.
cannot be saved. I want that same thing for a Jew as I want for a Muslim, as I want for anybody of any nation and people and tribe and tongue on earth. That has to be made clear right now. So it's not a question of anti-Semitism. To be an anti-Zionist is not to be a hater of Jews. To be anti-Zionist is not to be pro-Muslim either. This is a false dichotomy, and it's one that the media plays into. It's one that the Zionists manipulate. It's one also that Muslims will manipulate at times. We're going to go to war to defend Israel. As a result, we might even go to war preventively. We might even go to war because we think Israel's interests might be jeopardized. This is how we have a warmongering ideology in Christian Zionism. So this little anecdote of that one meeting with that one, real person. He was a nice guy. I mean, he wasn't,
It was a guy that he met
breathing
who was
out
telling him we got to
hatred
go to war for Israel.
for Arabs or anything, but as it is, that ideology that he expressed has murdered a lot of people, including Americans who were sent into harm's way for no just reason. Okay, I think it's necessary to talk a little bit about the background of Jewish Zionism. I told you that Zionism is Christian Zionism.
Okay, so he's gonna go first into Jewish Zionism, and then in the end we'll go into, because you got to know both, right? And then we'll go into Christian Zionism with this video, and then, like I said, we'll bridge it to today. I'll read the Israel lobby situation and all of that.
Is a Christian heresy, but that it predates Jewish Zionism, and it does. The first manifestations of Jewish Zionism, a sort of proto-Zionism that we know of, is that which was expressed by Yehuda al-Khalai, who lived from the years 1789 to 1878. Again, his name is Yehuda al-Khalai. He was born in Sarajevo, which was then part of the Ottoman Turkish Empire. He was affected by the Bosnian nationalism that was going around in the 19th century, and therefore one might suppose that the nationalist
Please
aims
keep hitting that like
were
button for
taking
me,
place
guys.
all throughout the world, really, at that point, especially Europe, would have made people crave for the nationhood of various different ethnic groups. And why then shouldn't the Jews, who are their own ethnic group, have a nationalism of their own? Theodor Herzl, who one of the later really founding Zionists, his grandfather knew Yehuda al-Khalai and read some of his books, and he was under his influence. So it's thought that Theodor Herzl himself, one of the pioneer Zionists, much later, was influenced, at least indirectly through his family, by the thinking of Yehuda al-Khalai. He thought Yehuda Alkalai thought that 1840 was the year of redemption, and he had this idea of the so-called third redemption. And what influenced it was his study of the Kabbalah. Now, I don't have time to go at great depth with the Kabbalah into what the Kabbalah is, but the Kabbalah, you know the English word cabal? It comes from Kabbalah. What does it mean? It means basically a coterie of conspirators, a small group of conspirators. That's a cabal. It's one of the few. Check it out in the dictionary. Cabal. Cabal, I think is the spelling, but the Kabbalah is Kabbala, the Kabbalah, or sometimes they spell it with a Q. The Kabbalah was the Jewish body of Gnostic writings. Gnosticism wasn't just a heresy in Christianity, Gnosticism was a heresy in Judaism as well. And a lot of Talmudic Jews, a lot of rabbinical Jews, were also affected by, to some greater or lesser degree, the Kabbalah, which is very Gnostic, and it has as part of its Gnosticism a rather weird numerology. A numerology meaning the study of numbers and lending mystical significances to numbers. And when you realize the fact that every letter of the Hebrew alphabet is also a number, then you realize that the Torah, the Hebrew scriptures, the Pentateuch is the Torah, can be read as a numerical code, since every letter is also in fact a number. The Kabbalah is largely based on this fake reading, this numerological Gnostic. Gnosis always goes for the hidden knowledge. It's not just any knowledge. Gnosis in Greek means knowledge, but Gnosticism is this pursuit of some esoteric hidden knowledge that only the initiates and the elites can find out.
And this is very important stuff for us to like know. Like, this is not the origins of Judaism. No, like this is this kind of like Talmudic type thinking that brings on the Zionistic asset to everything that's happening here. It's Jewish heresy to be a Zionist, you know, like it goes against what they believe anybody practicing Judaism in the Bible, you know?
As opposed to the gospel, which is a public revelation. So, influenced by his study in the Kabbalah, Yehuda Alkalai came up with this idea of the 1840 being the year of redemption. He thought they had to act really quickly, and he was also under the impression, why did they have to act quickly? Well, they had to act quickly because according to Alkalai, the Israel was not truly Israel unless the Jews dwell in the land of Israel. Haaretz Israel, they call it. You know, it's an Israeli newspaper, Haaretz. It means the land. Haaretz Israel is the land of Israel. So unless they're dwelling in Israel, they're not truly Israel. So therefore, he called for the Jews to colonize the Holy Land. And he was quite an activist, quite an organizer. He was a scholar, but he was a very organized man, very, you might even say, evangelistic in a sense. And he wanted it so that the various nations of the world would recognize Israel and would help Jews to settle in the Holy Land and have a new Israel. This idea was controversial within Jewry. Very, very, very controversial. Why? Because the Orthodox Jewish rabbis had always been of the mind that only the Messiah, only the Mashiach, as they call him, only the Christ, when he comes, can lead them back to the land of Israel. This is only going to be done in the Messianic era. And it's the height of presumption, and it's the sin of pride for any Jew, anyone, to say, we will by our own efforts retake Israel, and we will go back to the land of promise, and we will take it over, and we will undo what God did in the diaspora, and we will make it so that we have retaken the land and fulfill the Old Testament prophecy of our going back to our land. So the Jews, most Orthodox Jews, thought that this was heresy, so they rejected it. A lot of this idea got rejected by a lot of believing pious Jews because it was essentially anti-messianic. It's saying no.
So you hear that part, right? And this is why when I see these influencers on Twitter who are like, oh, and I'm gonna share a video of an example of one who's talking like this, like Israel was there first, and they're supposed to be there, and just giving you a blanket statement about something so deep, bro. Like, there's certain things I still have not talked about yet because I want to make sure that I understand it to as best as I can. This is way too deep for us to think it's cut and dry one way. I follow the Bible, right? And so Orthodox Jews follow the First Testament of the Bible. So you mean to tell me if these Jews are saying we're not supposed to go in there until the Messiah brings us in there? Now, in fact, I do believe Christ already came, right? There's the difference, okay? But if they're saying we're not supposed to go in there until the Messiah, until God ordains for us to go back, so we don't believe this, then I'm of the same feeling too because it's in the Bible, right? It's in the I understand why they feel like that. But you'll have people make it seem like there's not a single Jewish person who feels like this.
No, no, they were saying, no, we have to wait for the Messiah to come. Only when the Messiah comes can he lead us into the Holy Land. Only then can we have a hope that the people will once again settle in the land. There was another man who was a contemporary of Yehuda Alkalai, and his name is Rabbi Sui Hirsch Kalicher. And his years
Now,
were, he was
he
born
goes
the
on
same
to
year,
talk about,
1780.
I'm going to skip a
Messiah
little.
isn't a person, it's us.
All right,
The
this
Jew
was
was created as a state. There were lots of Orthodox Jews who were opposed to it. There were Jews in America who were opposed to it, who formed an organization, the name of which currently escapes me, to oppose the United States recognizing Israel.
keep hitting that like button,
Why?
guys. Thank
Because,
you.
again, they thought it was presumptuous. Only the Messiah, when he comes, can take them to the land of Israel.
Okay.
And it's going to be a very sort of eschatological event. It's going to be a very miraculous event. It's going to be an event that that beggars all belief when the Messiah finally comes and takes his people back to the Holy Land. So Zionism rejected that and said, no, 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 we got to do it ourselves. When we do it ourselves, then, then eventually the Messiahs will come. But then what happened later with Moses Hess and with Theodor Herzl was that Zionism became, now we're getting away from the proto-Zionism and getting to the real thing. These are the founders of modern Zionism, Moses Hess and Theodor Herzl. They were basically secularized Jews, and they completely expurgated the thing of religious concepts, and they said, no, the Messiah isn't a person, it's us. The Jewish people, we are the Messiah.
Okay, so and that is
we are the ones.
blasphemy at the highest, right? Right. So if you think about it, like if we go back to the Bible, and when Jesus was telling the Jews that he was the Messiah, that he was the Son of God, right? Which Christians do believe. A lot of people who met Jesus said that they saw him do a lot of miraculous things. Jesus is in the history books, like Jesus is real. Okay. But for them, they were so afraid or whatever. I wasn't there, but they didn't want to commit blasphemy. So they gave him up. This man comes and tells just comes and says, well, we're all the Messiah. So you see how it's antithetical to what the Judaism is supposed to be. So, and that's the reality of it, because we're going to hear terms. They're changing definitions as we speak. This video itself, that's why I keep saying, please hit the like button. They can say that they can say through the blanketed statements that I'm saying something anti-Semitic when there are many Jews who would say that, no, this is how we feel. But they don't matter because they're not part of the agenda. So this guy, he modernized it for them. Now we're going to skip over to, I believe it was 38. So now he goes over to the Christian part, right? So we got a little bit of history of the Jewish Zionism, a little bit, right? And now he's gonna go over to the Christian part. Now he talked about, like in the video, he talks about how Catholics was like the first church or whatever, and then the Protestants believed in sola scripture, saying that anybody could read and interpret the Bible, which I do believe. I do. I'm sorry, I don't trust people enough anyway to be, you know what I mean, like a bunch of people. I gotta confess to you and all that, but that's my belief, But whatever, I understand. Catholics who say it is a heresy to go away from Catholicism. I understand why they say it, but I think if it's done the right way and you actually use the Bible as authority and not add your own little thing to it, you'll be fine. Okay. But that's what he says. And then it goes into the history of Christian Zionism. So that's where we're going right now.
Called The History of Christian Zionism, by a gentleman named Donald Wagner. Or Wagner, I don't know how he says it. One of the early expressions of fascination with the idea of Israel was the monograph Apocalypsis Apocalypseos, written by Anglican clergyman Thomas Brightman in 1585. Brightman urged the British people to support the return of the Jews to Palestine in order to hasten a series of prophetic events that would culminate in the return of Jesus.
So you hear that. So that is like the fundamental thought of these Zionists, the Christian Zionists. They have to hurry up and get all the Jews to Israel so that they can hurry up so Jesus can come back. Never trust a man who tells you he knows when Jesus is coming back, how Jesus is coming back, where he's coming back to. Somebody says something like that to you, you run the other way. Okay, because they are lying to you, they're using you, and they're in some sort of cult. That's what this is, okay? And they are a danger to your relationship with the Lord.
1621, a prominent member of the British Parliament, attorney Henry Finch, advanced a similar perspective when he wrote, quote, "The Jews shall repair to their own country, shall inherit all of the land as before, shall live in safety, and shall continue in it forever." End quote. Finch argued that based upon his interpretation of Genesis 12:3, God would bless those nations that supported the Jews' return. Early on, let's see, not much after this, you have the rise of a sect, a new sect. Actually, no, it was quite a bit afterwards. It was in the 19th century. In the early 19th century, you have the rising of a sect called the Plymouth Brethren. This was a very anti-hierarchical organization. They didn't want to even go by the name of a particular church or denomination. This was one of the first serious non-denominational brands of Christianity. They've since divided into groups that are more or less denominational, but in the early days, the Plymouth Brethren, they didn't have ministers, they didn't have anybody that had some special title. They came and met together to have the Lord's Supper and to break bread together. There was an Anglican clergyman by the name of John Nelson Darby, who lived from 1800 to 1882, who adopted the thinking of the Plymouth Brethren. He met some of the people who had come together to meet and break bread together and pray together, and he found that he was in agreement with their ideas on this sort of anti-hierarchical religion. And he became one of the members, and he became one of the principal members, and he became one of the great thinkers. Apparently, the man did have a good mind. He was very gifted. He was a screaming heretic, but he was very gifted. So John Nelson Darby gives us what is known as premillennial dispensationalism. And you might be wondering what premillennial...
Okay, so this is an eschatism, millennial dispensationalism, for something that I, as a Christian, never heard it put like this. It's like, the last day type of things. But there's people who believe that there's gonna be a tribulation, but not everybody's gonna go through it. There's gonna be a great rapture and everything else or whatever. But they predict the exact events with these dates and times and everything. And they do, and Bible prophecy, it can be done, but not in this way where it's like, okay, and then for 1,000 years Christ will reign. That's what he goes into. But a lot of that, what he's doing too, is John Nelson Darby, what he was saying that like the Old Testament and the New Testament were running together. So Jews basically were like, okay, again, Christian, you have to believe that your salvation comes from Christ. But he's saying no, it's all running together. So it's okay for them not to believe that, I guess. I don't know. But again, going back to the thing of getting the Jews all to go to Israel for this end of days to come. So we're going to skip over this a little bit because there's a part in here where you know what? All right, let me just, I'll let it play. Don't let it confuse you too much, but I'll let it play.
dispensationalism is. Well, some of you evangelical converts out there and some of you evangelical Christians out there that might hear this will know exactly what it is. Premillennialism in Christian eschatology is the belief that Jesus is going to come physically. He's going to return physically to the earth, the second coming, before the millennium, which is that literal 1,000-year golden age of peace on earth. The doctrine is called premillennialism because it holds that Jesus' physical return to the earth will occur prior to the inauguration of the millennium. Now, you have premillennialism and then you have dispensationalism. What's
All right, so I'm not gonna get all the way into the esoteric thing, but this type of thinking. But I want you to see that one part of this of the whole eternal stuff. Look, I mean, just look all of this confusion. But you'll see that a huge part. They even have a part where they say that the Antichrist will reign. Okay, tribulation 7 years, but there's a huge part of this of Christ descending is when restoration of the Jews to Palestine. Now, mind you, this was written by somebody back in 18 whatever, this was written before Israel was a state, okay? And they called it Palestine. Conversion of remnant of Israel, temple rebuilt, priesthood sacrifices, cult ritual restored. All goes against the Lord. You know what I mean? Cult rituals, sacrifices. There's no more sacrifices. Jesus died on the cross. After that, there would be no more bloodshed, And it is important for me to say that if a Jewish person believes that there's still sacrifices, that's them. But if you call yourself a Christian, you can't get involved with, you have effectively gone into voodoo. Okay? When you start talking about sacrificing animals for blood, for what? For forgiveness? So you don't believe that Christ died on the cross for you. So I'm going to push up, and I see some of your comments. I'm going to come back to the comments. I'm just finishing up like this part right here, because when we get into these insane televangelists who are making buku bucks lying to people,
Jesus didn't come to be the Jewish messiahs. He's not for them. We don't have to convert them to Christianity.
Actually,
and he doesn't have any Israel in the church. This, by the way, has been inherited by a lot of Christian Zionists, and they have absolutely no interest. For instance, Pastor John Hagee, who's a megachurch pastor down in Texas, and who is one of the most influential and vociferous Christian Zionists of our day. He says that Jesus didn't come to be the Jewish messiahs. He's not for them. We don't have to convert them to Christianity.
This man is dangerous, and he is doing the work of Satan. He absolutely is. You cannot be a Christian and you know the Bible and you say that Jesus only came for certain people, but not everybody else. If you believe that Christ died on the cross for everybody, that's it. And this man is wealthy, dangerous man. We're going to see how dangerous he is. We're going to bridge over to the current times real soon.
Intention of trying to convert Jews. And this fits into what a lot.
Please hit that like button for me, guys. Sorry. Please hit that like button for me. Thank you so much, guys.
Of modern day Jews say that to attempt to convert a Jew to Christianity is itself anti-Semitic, and of course we refute that. We denounce that. That's because to refuse to want to convert somebody is a sin against heresy. It's the very opposite. So here you have the Plymouth Brethren, John Nelson Darby, saying that Jesus is going to rapture us up. Now they didn't invent the rapture theory; it was already around, but they took it and popularized it. And they said Jesus is going to come. He's going to sort of vacuum clean all the saints up into the skies while he does his tribulation on earth for 7 years. So the saints don't have to suffer. And then Jesus is going to usher in the millennium, this earthly period of 1,000 years of peace. There's a serious problem with this thinking. First of all, it's so incredibly unbiblical, and nobody thought of it before this date. You don't see this. There was a form of premillennialism in some of the fathers of the church most of the history of the church. It was condemned by Catholics, but there was nothing like the Plymouth Brethren or John Nelson Darby's dispensationalism. And nobody would have thought you shouldn't try to convert Jews. And nobody would have thought, as many Christian Zionists now believe, and I believe it's at least implicit in the writings of Darby, that there were two side-by-side dispensations. The old covenant was still alive and well alongside the new covenant. That's condemned. I mean, Catholics can't believe that. Now, the theological critique of this is there's at least a couple of things that I can say here. And I see I'm running out of time. I've got less than 10 minutes. I might have to continue this as a part two. But there's a serious misreading of the Old Testament going on here, a very, very serious misreading of the Old Testament. And why don't we go to what the chief verse is this? If any.
Okay, so he's gonna break down. So those special little verses that Christian Zionists like to, throw out, like, if you gotta bless Israel in order to be blessed, look, it says it in Genesis and all this other stuff. He's gonna like debunk it.
Of you have heard Christian Zionists on their program, say Pat Robertson, the 700 Club, or Pastor Hagee and whatever his show is, or any of these other shows that you might have seen that are sponsored by Christian Zionists, you will find them quoting Genesis 12:3. God's words to Abraham, I will bless them that bless thee and curse them that curse thee. In thee shall all the kindred of the earth be blessed. Now, this is a prophecy of the coming of Messiah, and that the Messianic era will bless all of the nations. So that's how we look at it, and even Protestants would look at it, that the Messiah is going to be a blessing to all of the nations, not just to the Jews, not just to the literal children of Abraham, but all of the nations. But the key part of this is, I will bless them that bless thee and curse them that curse thee. The way that this was read, and we saw this actually even before Darby, the way that this was read was that applies not only to Abraham. God was speaking these words to Abraham in these very specific circumstances. The way that the Christian Zionist interprets this is that applies to modern Jews and to the modern state of Israel. And those who bless the modern state of Israel, God will bless. Those Gentiles that help the modern state of Israel, God will bless. And those that don't, God will curse. So you will see it, and I used to watch these things, so I know how they talk. You will see these Protestant televangelists over and over and over again say, America, if we don't support Israel, we're going to be cursed, that God's going to curse us. Yet when we support Israel, God's going to bless us and we'll be blessed. So this sort of irksome self-righteousness that a lot of these guys boast of is because they're so responsible, some of these Christian Zionist leaders, in getting the United States to support Israel in this extremely bellicose way. And in so doing, they think that they're bringing about a blessing upon America. Forget the fact that we're...
And like, let's just think about that even for a second. Like, so for all of this, support, and I mean, my God, I'm gonna show you our leaders and the way they're talking and everything. Our presidential candidates, if I will. And so for all of this support that we've been doing, if this was so true, why is this country going to hell in a handbasket? Okay. Like, that's why, because you're putting your faith in something that is not real. Okay. We have to support Israel in order to be blessed. What in the world is that? Or you could pray, or you could bring back prayer in schools. Yeah. Like, you could do things like that. Right. No, but we got to support Israel to be blessed. Do we feel, I mean, don't get me wrong. We are not living in a third world country, but we can see the difference in the change that's happened in 3 years. How's that going for us?
Wounding our soldiers and killing our own soldiers and causing all kinds of conflagrations across the whole region of the world. In order to do this, they think that we're bringing about a blessing. And it's a patent absurdity. I already told you that, let's see, the Jews shall repair to the own country, shall inherit all the land as before, shall live in safety, shall continue forever. And Finch went on to say that God would bless those that supported the Jews' return. He got it directly from Genesis 12:3. This is a man who was speaking in British Parliament in 1621. So, in the first half of the 17th century, you have a proto Christian Zionist speaking in British Parliament, saying that God will bless all those nations that support the return of the Jews to the nation of Israel. This is a Protestant sola scriptura type interpretation of the first book of the Bible. And it's now standard fare. Why is it standard fare? Well, I really don't have time to get into how the idea became so popularized, but it became popularized through a new English version of the Bible that was popular in the 19th century called the Schofield Bible. And this is the Bible that brought that made Christian Zionists out of American Protestants. Prior to the Schofield Bible and its popularization in this country, the vast majority of American Protestants would have had absolutely no interest in assisting the Jews to return to the Holy Land. This was not on their radar screen at all. The Plymouth Brethren was a small, obscure sect in England, and they had very little influence.
All right, so I'm going to stop this video right here. So he gave us a good history. I want to go into that Schofield Bible. Another thing that I did not know existed. I was like, what the heck? Because I know the King James Version and then the New International Version, because the New International Version doesn't have all the yea, shall we, the. So I like to read the New International Version, but that's it. All these other, so the Schofield Bible, like, so apparently this is a Bible that it is a King James Version in like the main part of it is the King James Version, but it has notes about Israel, and like it has footnotes about connecting everything to Israel. The new Schofield Study Bible, it's called a Study Bible. Since it was first published in 1909, the Schofield Reference Bible has made uncompromising Zionists out of tens of millions of Americans. When John Hagee, the founder of Christians United for Israel, said that 50 million evangelical Bible believing Christians unite with 5 million American Jews, and you hear this, standing together on behalf of Israel, it was the Schofield Bible that he was talking about. Although the Schofield Reference Bible contains text from King James Authorized Version, it is not the traditional Protestant Bible, but Cyrus. Okay, Schofield's annotated commentary. Okay, yeah, but Cyrus I. Schofield's annotated commentary that is problematic more than any other factor. It is Schofield's notes that have induced generations of American evangelicals to believe that God demands their uncritical support for the modern state of Israel. Okay, so like, you know, um, so I guess here when you read this, this is how the Schofield Bible simply reads: Genesis 12:3. I will bless them that bless thee. And then I think he adds on in fulfillment closely related to the next clause, and curse him that cursed thee, wonderfully fulfilled in the history of dispersion, and has invariably fared ill with the people who have persecuted the Jew, well with those who have protected him. The future will still more remarkably prove this principle. Like, that is insane. So, and God clearly tells you in the Bible, God says, don't add on or take out. You know what I mean? Like, don't. Woe was the man who tries to like interpret these words for his own behavior. Like, yeah, this is exactly what this is. And can you imagine how dangerous this is? This is fundamentally like dangerous for and I'm saying for a Christian, because if you're already calling yourself a Christian, you've gone so far to say, I'm taking on Christ, that I believe that Christ died for my sins. So you get to that point, and then the devil goes and sways you in a whole nother left field, in a whole nother direction. That's the thing about the devil. He goes to church too and misquotes. He'll grab the Bible and misquote the Bible on purpose. Like, this is the biggest deception to me. You go through all that to convert, or to come to Christ, and then now you find yourself worshiping man. This is crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And yeah, it is that serious for us to talk about. um it really is. So let me go to some of the stuff y'all are saying on the chat. And then I want to read this little thing about the Israel origins of the Israel lobby. Just gonna read like a little blurb about it. but I think that I'm gonna have to summarize it myself on my Substack. That's gonna now turn into something about like waking people up to Christian Zionism because this is insane. So I'm gonna read a few things. Please excuse me. Um, because cult classic cage. Hey, General came through. I'm sorry. Let me just get a little bit. Cult says Christianity is dying because of defending Judaism and sus priests. Shaking my head, I grew up Catholic, but have since distanced myself. I can't sit here and pretend everything is fine. So that's the thing. So the thing is, like, I'm a 7 Days Adventist, right, which is Christianity. Um, I like the practice of it. We The Bible is the authoritative source. That's it. But people will mess up anything. People will mess up anything. People will lie about other religions. My religion, they say, they call it a cult. They call us legalists and all kinds of. No, we just say you want to follow the way of God. God is your source, but you do it out of love because we know that you're saved through God's grace. That's it. That's why a lot of this stuff I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, when did this happen? I was like, like this is how people talking for real? Like y'all really just saying this stuff and it doesn't sound insane. So this is why the word anti-Semitic is so scary. And let's even to break that down, and I'm not trying to be funny, but Semitic is Sumerian, like Semitic. You know who else is Semitic? The people of Palestine are Semitic. Okay, they are Semitic. So Afro-Asiatic, people who come from the you know, children of Israel. If I'm not mistaken, I'm not, I haven't done research too much on Muslims, but they say that lineage comes from Esau, and Esau, no, that was his brother. I keep doing that. They're all they're all like children of Isaac, Abraham. Okay, so but yeah, the region though where they're at. Arabs are Semitic, and it's just the truth. If you go look up Semitic, it's just the truth. So even the word, it's like, look, and I get it, right? Whatever. I'm not going to be here like, no, that's not the word. I'm not going on that campaign. But they get us, not who's they? People who want to control us. Again, it's not just Jews. I just did a whole thing about Christians, okay, doing this stuff, right? It's all the devil. And that's what it comes down to for me. It is. It's a bunch of confusion that it does not need to be, you know? And you're right, it is dying because Christians have been so nice. The fact that we say it's anti-Semitic to try to convert a Jew is against Christianity, right? Now, I don't run around saying to people, you need to go to God right now. You need to repent. I'm not one of those. I don't do that. Come on. Really, that's rude. But I'm not afraid to talk about what I believe in with in any religion. I don't like, I, I believe Christ died for my sins. I'm not afraid to say that. I'll say it to a Jewish person. I'll say it to a Muslim person. I'm not afraid to say it. And I'm not offending anybody by saying it because that's my core belief. God, you know, nothing comes before God. Your feelings don't come before God. Okay. That's the creator. So, but the thing is, Christians have been so weak. We've been weak, 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 weak. And apparently we've been distracted, completely off the radar, completely to the point where where Christians are uniting, bringing all this money and giving it to presidential candidates and presidents and telling them to go fight these wars. That's insane. All right, let me just see. I think Semitic is anyone who speaks a Semitic language. Yeah, it's like, excuse me, because like you'll hear even Ron Paul back in the day, he used to say like the Semitic people of Palestine. They're Semitic. It's okay. Jews, that's the region that they came from. There's Jewish people who are Afro-Asiatic. Not all of them are. There's Ashkenazi. That's not Afro-Asiatic. They would be called Semitic. But like I said, I'm not going on that campaign right now. I'm not. It's just, yeah, Christianity is a fractured eggshell, and it's not supposed to be this way. Yes, but we were supposed to take if you stay focused on God, if you keep your focus on the kingdom of righteousness, which I try to do. I do, it's every day you got a little something that happens and you start to act up or whatever. But then these things don't happen to you. It's supposed to sound odd. It is. All right, let me read the little blurb of the Israel lobby thing. But that one, this actual piece, I think I'm gonna have to do a live on it or a episode on it on its own because it's long, but it is very important. And then afterwards, I'm gonna go to Twitter and show you our presidential candidates buck dancing for Israel. All right, so uh, okay, excuse me. This was written. This was written in March, and thank you for being patient with my throat, guys. I don't know what's going on here. And if y'all could just hit that like button, y'all been doing great with that. Anybody who just came on, whatever, please hit that like button. Thank you so much. They definitely will suppress this one because I'm talking about a lot of things here. So the immediate precursor to today's pro-Israel lobby began in 1939 under the leadership of Rabbi Abba Hillel Silver, originally from Lithuania. He created American Zionist Emergency Council, which by 1943 acquired a budget of $500,000 at a time when a nickel bought a loaf of bread. I'm going to read like the first four paragraphs. And then I might like just drop to like read a couple more things. In addition to this money, Zionists adherents of political Zionism, a movement to create a Jewish state in Palestine, have become influential in creating a fundraising umbrella organization, the United Jewish Appeal, in 1939, giving them access to the organization's gargantuan financial resources: 14 million in 1941, 150 million in 1940 by 1948. Excuse me, this was four times more than Americans contributed to the Red Cross and was the equivalent of what would be 1.5 billion today. Okay. Okay. With this extraordinary funding, AZEC embarked on a campaign to target every sector of American society, ordering that local committees be set up in every Jewish community in the nation. For decades, the larger majority of Jewish Americans had been either non-Zionist or actively anti-Zionist. Okay, so you hear, so for decades, the larger majority of Jewish Americans had been either non-Zionist, like I don't want no parts, or actively not, or actively anti-Zionist. I'm protesting. Okay. In the words of AZAC organizer Zai Kareem, it launched a political and public relations offense to capture and support of the support of congressmen, clergy, editors, professors, business, and labor. AZAC instructed activists to make direct contact with your local congressman or senator and to go after union members, wives, and parents of servicemen and Jewish war veterans. AZAC provided activists with form letters to use and schedules of anti-Zionist lecture tours to oppose and disrupt. Okay, because the anti-Zionists, they were protesting and doing their things, doing lectures, and then these people would come in and disrupt that, right? Okay. A measure of its power came in 45, when Silver disliked a British move that would be harmful to Zionists. AZEC booked Madison Square Garden, ordered advertisements, and mailed 250,000 announcements the first day. By the second day, they had organized demonstrations in 30 cities and letter writing campaign that convinced 27 senators to give a speech. I need to find out what that move was. Grassroots Zionist action groups were organized with more than 400 local committees under 76 states and regional branches. AZAC funded books, articles, and academic studies. Millions of pamphlets were distributed. There were massive petition and letter writing campaigns. AZAC targeted college presidents and deans, managing to get more than 150 to sign one petition. All right. And let me just talk about the person who tried to oppose them. Rabbi Elmer Berger, executive director of American Council for Judaism, which opposed Zionism in the 40s and 50s, writes in his memoirs that there was a ubiquitous propaganda campaign reaching just about every point of political leverage in the country. The Zionist Organization of America bragged of the immensity of our operations and their diversity in its 48th annual reporting, stating, "We reach into every department of American life. We reach into every department of American life." Excuse me. Berger and other anti Zionist Jewish Americans tried to organize against the deception and cynicism with which the Zionist machine operated, but failed to obtain anywhere near their level of funding. Among other things, would be dissenters were afraid of the savagery personal attacks and anti-Zionists endured. Okay, so they got basically like disrespected. Okay, here we go. This Zionist manufactured Christian support. The AZAC founder Silver and other Zionists played a significant role in creating Christian support for Zionism. Secret Zionist funds, eventually reaching 150,000 in 1946, were used to revive an elitist Protestant group, the American Palestine Committee. This group had originally been founded. Excuse me, it is my nostrils. Like I'm like a little um congested. This group had originally been founded in 1932 by Emmanuel Newman, a member, where was I? A member of the executive of the Zionist organization. The objective was to organize a group of prominent, mainly non Jewish Americans in moral and political support of Zionism. Frankfurter was one of the main speakers at its launch. Silver's headquarters issued directives saying in every community, an American Christian Palestine Committee must immediately must be immediately organized. Again, in every community, an American Christian Palestine Committee must be immediately organized. Okay, so they formed other groups among clergymen. The Christians have been weak from the door. Okay, like so. Excuse me. So you mean to tell me, right? Like, so this is the thing that's happening here. And then they're just like, yeah, yeah, we'll work with you. You're not supposed to do. You see why people look at Muslims funny? Because they don't do all this cross working all the time. They don't, because they know we can be manipulated, and we're not supposed. You're not supposed to work with other sex this hard. You're not. You're just simply not. We can do like a feed the hungry thing together. We can do maybe like a Christmas party, a Toys for Tots, not a problem. But when we are doing your agenda together, oh, we got to get all the Jews over to Israel or whatever, and so now I'm taking money from you. Fundamentally done. These people are all wrong. They've misled their their churchgoers, their clergy, like they misled them. Hmm. So by the end of World War II, the Christian Council on Palestine had grown to 3,000 members. An American Palestine Committee boasted a membership of 6,500 public figures. I'm going to be very clear that they are not using the word Israel, because Israel did the state of Israel didn't exist yet. Okay. All right. So, you know, um, and it goes into, wait, hold on a second. Historian Richard Stevens explains that Christian support was largely gained by exploiting their wish to help people in need. You see, that's why sometimes you got to be me. Stephen writes that Zionists would proclaim the tragic plight of refugees fleeing from persecution, finding no home, thus linking the refugee problem with Palestine as um, allegedly the only solution. Okay. So, okay. Stevens writes that the reason for this strategy was clear. While many Americans might not support the creation of a Jewish state, traditional American humanitarianism could be exploited in favor of the Zionist cause through the refugee problems. Few of any of these Christian supporters had any idea that the creation of the Jewish state would entail a massive expulsion of hundreds of thousands of non Jews who made up largely the large majority of Palestine's population, creating a new and much longer lasting refugee problem. Okay. So, and it goes all the way into wow, there was US officials who had opposed the creation of Palestine. I'm actually shocked, or Israel, actually shocked. But yeah, so I mean, and that's really like, I'm not gonna all the way get into that part, because that's a whole nother story. That's a whole nother frame. So I'm just gonna kind of leave that part alone. But do you see? And so now you got a button, and it's grown, guys. It's grown. This is a joke. Let's share to this tab, and we're coming to like the end of you know this live. My throat barely could take it, but here we are. Um, everybody's been in the knee, by the way. It's just like it's just seriously ridiculous. Like, all right, so I have this young girl who's going to explain to you again Christian Zionism.
Who used to be a Christian Zionist, I don't think we always fully realize the impact that belief system has on how we portray and perceive and react to what is happening in Israel and Gaza. Now, there are a lot of different flavors of Christian Zionism. Mine was couched in Mormonism, but it's basically the belief that the country of Israel had to be formed before Jesus could come again, and it has to be defended so he can come again. Now, the ability for Israel to defend itself, something we hear all the time, is crucial in this belief system because they also believe that Israel's going to do something to piss off the whole world. The whole world is going to hate them and want to fight them. Now, this is where in the Mormon version, the Mormons come in to save the day because is this a geopolitical conflict that has nothing to do with them? Yeah, no. They're always the main character in their own stories. So 2 Mormon prophets will come and defend Jews, defend Israel against all the rest of the world that is fighting them until they are killed. And then they will be paraded around the streets for 3 days and resurrected in front of everyone. Then Jesus will come back and destroy everyone who fought against Israel, but he can't come back until all of those other things happen first. So if you talk to a Christian Zionist right now and got them to be really honest, they probably wouldn't say that they're entirely upset with what's happening because it's a confirmation of their belief system. They think that this is proof that Jesus is coming. The second coming is close. So when you believe that narrative, when that is your belief system, how does it affect your perception and response to what is happening in Israel and Gaza? When I was a Christian Zionist, I was having a debate with a friend about the current then events in Israel and Gaza. Just a side note, since my last video, I've had a shocking number of people in my comments and DMs telling me to stay in my own lane and only talk about Idaho and that I need to tread lightly. And I'm not a Janie come lately to this topic. I've been talking about it for a while. I've been talking about it far longer than I ever thought about talking about Idaho politics. So thank you for your input, but I will continue to talk about the topics that I think are important on my own platform. Now, I disagree with the position I took in this debate because I was conservative, I was a Christian Zionist, and it's really incredible when you don't just read things that reinforce your worldview and your religious belief system, how much your perspective changes. So in this debate, my friend brought up the human rights issues that were happening, particularly in Gaza. And I remember this conversation from 12 years ago. Actually, I think about it a lot and then I can't fall asleep because my response to think about the humanity of the Palestinian people, think about the gross human rights violations that they're being forced to live under. And my response was, you do remember how this all ends, right? Holy shit, 2011, Lindsay. Holy shit. And within the framework of Christian Zionism, it didn't matter how terribly the Israeli government treated the Palestinian people. It was expected. I expected they do lots of really terrible things. And my job was always to defend them and stand with Israel because that was the side that Jesus was going to redeem in the second coming. So incredibly, wildly fucked up. But if you'd asked me about my religion, I'd say, no, my religion is about compassion and love and helping people find the love of God and be redeemed through Christ. When actually, I was using my religion to excuse atrocities against Palestinian people because I wanted to live with Jesus after I died. And I think these views fundamentally impact how we view and report and excuse the atrocities committed by the Israeli government.
And it's just crazy. Like, I don't even know what else to say. Like, yeah, I mean, I want afterlife with Christ, but I'm pretty sure when I look at this, I'm like, nah, this isn't what he wants. Like, those kind of wars, those crusading wars, that was Old Testament stuff. That's not for today. That's not. And you have a lot of evangelical pastors that are going to Gog and Magog this whole situation. This is about like oil land. It has like a holy type of weirdness to it too. It definitely, when I say holy, a spiritual aspect to it, but not anything that I want to be a part of. I'll tell you that. I'm not here for the voodoo. I'm definitely not. So, hold on. So we have like these people who, the way they talk now. So hold on. Everybody went to the Jewish council or something to talk about something, and this is how they talk.
We know that they hide behind the falsity of free speech. There is a difference, everyone, between free speech and hate speech. There is a difference between free speech and violence.
And so you know what I mean. It kills me. Like, what is this? This principle of mine as a black person to say I don't believe in hate speech. I made sure to let people know that's a fundamental principle of mine. So when a bunch of black folk complain about hate speech, I'm like, no. You know, like people have a right to say what they want to say. But now it's okay to talk about hate speech. These people don't stand for anything. They don't have any values, yo. It's blackpilling me a lot. It really, I gotta tell you, it really is.
There's a difference between incitement and free speech. And what's going on in our college campuses today is not free speech. It is hate speech. What's going on?
You can't say everybody in the college, like I keep saying, if there was somebody who said we're going to end the Jews at XYZ o'clock or whatever, yeah, that's a problem. And you have plenty of laws to deal with that. You do what you have to do. Okay? We disavow. But people who are pro-Palestine, you know, you have a lot of maybe Palestinians who are pro-Palestine. They're going to say they're pro-Palestine, especially if you have people who that's their heritage. So they're fundamentally wrong for being Palestinian. I mean, like all of that. Or how about the Jewish people who are pro-Palestine? Because they say it's all Hamas.
On our campuses today is inciting violence, is inciting fear. And we now know the impact it's having on our children.
All right, so we'll leave it alone. Here's the thing. We now know, I'm going to leave that alone. We now know all the anti-whiteism that's been happening on college campuses. How come nobody talks about that? And this is why I don't like it. I don't like it. You know, like all of this. Yeah, and they're really focusing on these college campuses. And it's like, okay, fine. If people are talking about hurting people, you have the laws to deal with that. But they're making these blanketed laws for everybody else. We'll move on from Chris Christie. And you know, here's the boy right here. He's the Prince of Israel.
We also saw the rise of these chapters called Students for Justice in Palestine.
Somebody said Palestine voted for Hamas into power. That was 17 years ago. Like, you know, I mean, they have not been able to, they're not allowed to get another vote. That was 17 years ago. You know, and by the way, if we want to go there, America has funded Palestine and so has Israel. That's the thing. This thing is so messy, but we've always been involved. So like, that's the whole thing. We are always involved. And a lot of people hate us too. Like our establishment, I should say.
And this is a group that took pains to say that they don't, quote, stand in solidarity with what Hamas did, that they are one and the same with what Hamas did. Well, you know, you may have a First Amendment right to say a lot of dumb things, but you do not have a right to give material support to terrorists. So we deactivated the Students for Justice in Palestine in the state of Florida. It's done.
So proud about his fascism. I'm not trying to be funny. I need to see the stuff. If I see the stuff that says, I mean, somebody send it to me. If they're saying, oh, we want to go and we, you know, hurt innocent Jews, then please, that can't be done. But Ron DeSantis is an absolute authoritarian. Yes, he is. But the right will never call it out because it's, oh, he's being strong. You know, Ron DeSantis says, oh, if you get caught sending stuff to terroristic groups, but we deem to be terroristic groups, you know, that's a felony charge. What if somebody from Iraq has a grandmother living in Iraq and they're sending money over to Iraq? Right? I mean, a lot of people have families in a lot of places. And I'm not talking about immigrants who just came here. I'm talking about, like, I know a lot of very successful Iraqis and, you know, very successful coworkers, nurses and doctors. So we're giving up and this guy really irritated.
When I'm back in the White House, the United States will stand with Israel all the way, 100%, without hesitation, without qualification, and without any apology. We're not going to be apologizing. We won't be apologizing. We're not going to be apologizing. We will fully support the Israelis in their mission to ensure that Hamas is decimated and these atrocities will be avenged. They will be avenged. In many ways, they'll be avenged. I think even beyond what you're thinking about. The wars have to be finished oftentimes before the peace. And if you don't do the wars, the peace doesn't happen. And if you're not going to be tough and ruthless like they are, it's not going to happen. We have to stop it. We have to end it once and for all. After decades of broken promises by past leaders, I kept my promise, recognized Israel's eternal capital, and opened the American embassy in Jerusalem. I actually got the building built, too. Got it built. They've been talking about that for a long time, Miriam. That's what you and that great man, that's what you wanted, right? And we got it built. You know, we got it built. And it's supposed to cost $2 billion. We got it done for $500,000. I'm proud to be the best friend that Israel has ever had. Everybody says, are you sure the best friend that Israel's ever had? And with 4 more years, I will defend America and I will defend Western civilization from the barbarians and savages and fascists that you see right now trying to do harm to our beautiful Israel. We're not going to let that happen. This is a strange thing that's happening in our country. While in office, I took the strongest action of any president in history to combat the vile scourge of anti-Semitism. You know that. I signed a landmark executive order fighting anti-Semitic hate on college campuses and affirming that discrimination.
Yeah, I didn't know that. You know what I mean? That bothers me too. And the way he's talking bothers me. It really does. I understand there's a bit of buck breaking that has to happen. Let me tell you, I have to be careful. Now, I'm not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater because I have 2% chance that Trump might come in. I don't even know where we'll be by then. Okay. But yeah, I am criticizing him for this because this is who he used to be back in. I hope you guys can hear it. But this is who he used to be back in.
The best thing that could ever happen to Israel. And I'll be that. And I know why you're not going to support me. And, you know, you're not going to support me because I don't want your money. Isn't it crazy? No, it's true.
He says that you're not going to support me because I don't want your money. This is Trump 2015.
You know, if I wanted your money, I think I'd have a damn good chance. And I think I'd get more money than anybody else. Do you know the money I have turned down? This has not been my life, turning down money. Guys want to give me millions. I would have made poor Jeb Bush. I mean, this poor guy with this low energy. It's sad. No, it's sad. I came up with that term. It became so defining. It's like having it on his forehead. I am low. No, it's sad. He raised $125 million, which means he's controlled totally controlled by the people that gave him the money. That's why you don't want to give me money, okay? But that's okay. You want to control your own politician. That's fine. Good. But I will think about that, folks. Don't worry about it. I understand. Hey, 5 months ago, I was with you. Who was better than me? Who is better than me? I gave $350,000 to the Republican Governors Association. I never even got a letter of thank you. It's true. $350,000. I didn't receive one letter. Not one.
But you see how he used to sound? So, man, I got to tell you, I was like, oh, boy, you know, I hope, like, are you doing that for money? And I know he has a lot of legal bills, but I don't know. And it's not like, oh, but Casey, let me just make this point. You just don't want them to defend Israel at all. It's not that. It's just, you think I used to pay attention to this stuff back in the day when we were living normal, even though I didn't know we were in deficit and stuff and we were living normal? We can't afford this limitless type of support out of some weird, warped reading of the Bible or whatever else. We don't have it. We don't have it, you know? So that's the thing. My principles was always the same. When people say Ukraine and Israel are different, it's two places that's not here. We can't do it right now. We don't produce anything. We don't even produce anything to bring the money back. So that's the reality. Hold on. because I have he lost his mind. He couldn't take it no more. I mean, he's so Israel that he was like, I gotta dance for Israel. Like, it was just crazy when I was watching.
Do you want to know what a right is? The right of Jewish Americans to walk down the street in safety. That's a right. Do you want to know what a right is? The right of Jewish students to study in their own college library without being suggested that you hide in an attic. That's a right.
That's a right.
And this goes deeper than our college campuses.
Now this goes deeper.
We have seen the footage of Israel supporters being assaulted on our streets by radicals draped in a Palestinian flag.
Okay, calm down. Tom, what is his name? Tim Scott. And this goes deeper than like God. Okay, anyway, Colin, Kobanizer, let me explain this to you for real. Like, look, you probably haven't seen, first of all, the footage that's coming out of Gaza, and I try not to show it on this channel because of the fact that I feel like my video might get flagged. Please, if you're new here, please hit that like button, because it was good when y'all was hitting it. It helped me get more people out to, get me out to more people. Here's the thing. You said Hamas and Iran threatens our, very existence. I cannot understand this anti-Israel crap. There is a lot. This is, a lot deeper than that sentence right there. Okay. We have, it is what it is. We're already involved. Okay. If you've been watching this channel since last year, I've been saying, with BRICS getting ready to align, America's going to somehow, they're going to connect this war with Iraq. You can say that. Okay, listen, I'm not saying that we need to be, thinking that Iran, they're sweethearts and they're good guys. I don't know those people over there or their leaders. I don't. But what I do know is that America cannot sit here and keep poking at people. The minute this attack happened on the 7th, they already said, and this is backed by Iran, knowing that they didn't have the evidence. They're only connecting it for their own purposes to stop the BRICS movement that's happening. You know why that bothers me? Because we didn't have to do that to stop BRICS. What we should have did was enrich our own land, continue to drill at home. Okay, we could have continued to drill at home, and we could have had production coming in. Remember when Joe Biden first got here, he had extended the unemployment, all of that. Nobody's going to work. We don't have people in our own factories. We don't even, I don't think we have an ammunition factory in America. And if we do, I think it's only one somewhere in Texas. We don't produce anything. We are at a very weak state, and we keep poking at Iran, because really right now, who hasn't really came out and said that they were involved with this Hamas attack. Okay. And if you would have saw the full video, the full live, I'm anti-Zionist. Yes, I am, because it is this Zionistic, and Zionism is not Jewish only. Zionism is not Jewish. It is this particular ideology, because we have more Christian Zionists than we have Jewish Zionists. Okay. It goes fundamentally against the Bible, but I don't believe in people dying for no reason. I believe Israel has a right to defend itself. Okay. But there is an absolute genocide going on, and I don't care. People get mad when I use that word. Think like somewhere 7,000 plus people in Gaza have been blown to bits. Okay. Blown to bits. What is the strategic plan? I understand wars happen. What's the plan? Because the thing is, if you don't at least say, okay, we're going to go in and we're going to take out the 50 Hamas people who did this, or the 1,000 Hamas military members who did this, and get the leader too, who's always on the television. Y'all are not saying that. Y'all are just dropping bombs. The world is recognizing this now as a war crime. And guess what? America is implicated in it. We are implicated in it. And what happens? What happens if it gets so bad that they call a draft or something? And I'm not saying that they will. But we are in no position for this. None. The only reason they care about their precious state, is because colleges make all their money off international students, and they get charged. Oh, I really didn't know. I didn't know that. I should have known it had some money grabbing situation to go with it, you know. But yeah, this guy was buck breaking. I don't know what that song and dance was, but Beck tells, you know,
young people in this country are lost. I am 38 years old. I am the first millennial ever to run for U.S. president. I can tell you what's going on in our generation. They are hungry for purpose, for meaning, for a cause, for identity. And for a generation, we've taught them to fill that hunger by going to Ben & Jerry's and ordering a cup of ice cream with some anti-Semitic sprinkles on top. It's no surprise they're now spewing back that same anti-Semitism coming out of their mouth in reverse.
So you know why he says
young
that?
people in.
You see, let me tell you, these people, they don't have time to tell you the truth. And anyway, they buck dancing right now for more money. Okay. So when he says that about Ben & Jerry's, listen, Ben & Jerry's is weird. Okay. Like, just shut up and make ice cream. Right. But Ben & Jerry's, remember when they put out the thing talking about we need to give the land back to the Native Americans? I'm like, what did they just like want people to say their name? Because that was weird. Right. But there was a time where Ben & Jerry's said, we're not sending our product to Israel because we don't like how they're treating the Palestinians. Okay. That's their right. Ron DeSantis sanctioned them for that in Florida. Excuse me. Like this is my company, right? But this is a free market. So this is why I say, what's going on? Because I'm pretty sure that we wouldn't do, if this was China and somebody said, I'm not sending my product to China, nobody would be like, hey, wait a second, let's sanction them. They'd be like, great, good job, right? So what is this? I don't have to send my product there if I don't want to. This is my company, right? Who are you to tell me anything to do with my company? And nobody gets sanctioned for again, anti-whiteism. It's not the people. It's the way our people act that I have the bigger problem with, you know? And here he is, John Hagee, the worst of them all.
Tomorrow, Israel forever. We should sink any Iranian naval boats that threaten international shipping. If you don't really fully understand what
that threaten international shipping. So you see why now you make me take up for Iran, because I'm like, when was that a problem? When was that a problem? That thing, by the way, that happened where they were like, oh, Iran proxy militias targeted our contractors in Syria. I did a whole live about that. And so then they airstrike these militias. America did that. I did a whole live about that. First of all, they say proxy militias. They always connect any militia to Iran, right? That's number one. Number two, why do we still have troops in Syria? Why? Why are our American kids out there like sitting ducks? Because they are illegally occupying Syria. Yes, that is how the law goes. Syria is a sovereign country. It is. You can feel how you want about it, but we know they're going well. We would be mad if it was a bunch of Iranians just sitting here, militias sitting here and just like based up, right? Or if it was a bunch of Chinese military based up, just they got their bases here. We better be mad, right? So Syria doesn't want us here anymore. Syria, Iran, and Russia. Yeah, these targets, by the way, this has already been happening. Nobody cared. But this time they were like, oh, we got to get Iran. And I'm like, because it's all connected. We cannot. We are too stretched. We can't do this. We just can't. But they don't care because it's not them. I mean, look at John Hagee. He says we need to do all this bombing and stuff like that. Where's this old man going?
I've just said, let me say it to you in plain Texas speech. America should roll up its sleeve and knock the living daylights out of Tehran for what they have done to Israel.
This is a church. Oh, sorry, guys.
And there is coming a day, according to Matthew 25, when God is going to clean the clock of every anti-Semitic nation. Israel is America's only true friend in the Middle East. Israel is the apple of God's eye. Israel is unique to God. First Chronicles 17. And that God in Genesis 1:1 created the heavens and the earth. Since he created the heavens and the earth, he is owner. And as owner, he has rights. And he, as owner, has given to the Jewish people, the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, their covenant with them that they should own this land forever. That covenant is recorded in the Bible more than 20 times, and it remains their property to this day.
This boomer needs to get into a nursing home quick, okay? This is the guy, and by the way, Kufi, Christians United for Israel, they got, I think they sent $70 million to Israel. They have money. This is why all like Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley, Mike Pence, they all go to his summit. He gives the politicians money, you know? So when I'm over here, because when we were talking about ban the ADL, and I'm like, yo, we need some sort of, American PAC with a lot of money to go and own these politicians. Well, we have a Christian one that has a lot of money that could own politicians. But guess what? They do it for Israel. I'm like, oh my God, all this money. The land of Israel, I'm sure it is a very sacred thing. You know why? I've always kind of been weird about going there, because I never did want to get so ideological about it. Because I remember thinking, like, I just want to go back to the land, the Holy Land. And I was like, you know what? Just calm down. Like I could see how it could happen, but now we're talking about wars. These are the neocons. This is what made neocons. We weren't always going into situations with the Middle East. Saddam Hussein was a CIA agent. He was friends with America. He was friends with America to come just to make sure, like as a third, like a middleman between America and Iran. Okay, and now all of a sudden, these are these neocon Christian Zionists.
That covenant with God has never been broken, and it still stands. The people who are saying the land does not belong to Israel do not believe in the God of heaven, and they do not believe the Bible as the Word of God.
So what about the Jews who say we're not supposed to be over there until the Messiah brings us over there? So you ready to tell those Jews that they don't believe in God? By the way, let's everybody remember this are 3 Abrahamic religions: Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. Yes, Islam too. Okay, I know people like Muslims, like, and I'm not saying anybody on this, channel, watching now saying that, but we have been propagandized by Christian Zionists to hate Muslims. Have you ever talked to a Muslim and really talked? I'm not talking. And by the way, well, but they're jihadis and they do holy wars. What do you call this? What do you call a Christian Zionist just because they're not out there blowing themselves up? They're smart enough at least to fundraise and get the money. They're running the wars, right? So are they any different? Like Trump said, we have killers too. So, but when you talk to people, when you talk to Jewish people, and you talk about, yes, especially when I talk to them, the Sabbath, everything is a beautiful conversation. When I talk to Muslims about Jesus, they believe Jesus was the most high prophet. They just don't believe that he was the son of God. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't know that, but this thing that's been done with the corruption of people to keep everybody divided, and now it's like, let's get the bad guys. No, I'm not saying we should all be, peace, 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 flowers, flowers. No, this is earth. So as a believer, I know that paradise is not going to happen here. But I'm not going to promote a propaganda just based on knowing that, though. Like, I'm not going to say, okay, well, just have wars, like, I'm not going to do that. When I see the truth is being lambasted to the point where millions of people are worshiping the land instead of the Most High God, I have to say something. So Israel's ambassador went to this guy's church to tell everybody to be, fight the light, whatever that means.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming through, Anian.
Today,
Thank you. I'm about to wrap up,
dear
too.
friends, is a day of action. For tomorrow, our children and grandchildren will ask, how did you stand with Israel in her hour of need?
Yeah. All right. So, and this is what happens, with all of this Christian Zionism and everything. And this is where our Christian Zionism is getting us, I mean, we're such good Christians, right? This is great. Oh my God, look at the Lord must love us now. Look at us blessing Israel. Man, oh my gosh. Oh man, we're about to get major blessings. Major blessing. There's people under that rubble. Right? This is the reality. Nah, man, I can't just sit back here and be like, the Lord told me to bless this. Sorry. It's not what Christianity is supposed to be about. Christianity is supposed to be about sticking with the truth, the main truth. The truth died on the cross, right? Remember, people didn't believe that was the truth. So, real quick, I want you guys to hear this guy.
I'm not sure that there's anybody in America, personally speaking, who's pushed more people back to church than me. I really don't know that there is anybody who's done that. I tell Christians,
like Ben Shapiro, like bye boy, okay? Bye boy. Even if you are that person who did that, you don't need to be all hype. And let me just show you another thing he said. And you can't speak like this.
Front lines with weapons, and you fight with us in your prayers. Every word of your prayer gives us strength, protection, and success. I am a Jew. Let me tell you what those words mean. They mean I'm a child of the people of the book, the people who brought the world Moses' message of freedom and Jeremiah's message of justice and Isaiah's message of hope, the people who represent the root of the values of the West, the people who preserve the tradition thousands of years old stretching back to Sinai, the people of the 10 Commandments and the splitting of the Red Sea, of the Holy Temple, and of Abraham's one God.
Right. But God is above you. So we don't worship you. Okay, Ben? Chill out. We don't worship you. And seriously, when you worship the Lord, you only speak humbly. In no way can I say, I did this. We are the people. We're the people of Moses. We're the people who no. No. So what am I supposed to do? Bow down to you? But see, that's the thing about the Christian is we believe in the covenant, the promise that was made. So the church fulfills Israel, the promise between God and his creation. Yes, Abraham was supposed to be, his name does stand for the second man because Adam messed up and brought sin in the world with his wife and everything with the serpent. So yeah, he was the one who got it right. He did a lot of amazing things, but he was also a sinner too. There was only one perfect man who walked on this earth. One perfect man. That was Jesus Christ. So hey, yeah, he could feel like that. That's cool, Ben. You could feel like that. But as a Christian, that's nice. Okay? That's nice. And this is how Christians are supposed to sound. Right? So go ahead. And so, a lot of people would hear me and say, well, you're being anti-Semitic because you're mad at him because he said XYZ. Call me what you want. I am not worshiping people. I'm not worshiping a land because before all of this was the Most High God. And so that's where I'm ending it because, like I can't take it. Excuse me. He should join the IDF. I know, right? Like, man, he wouldn't. I can't speak like that without healing him. I can't take it. Thank you, everybody, for coming through. And yes, Ashley Casey, 17 years. When you hear people say, well, they voted Hamas. They voted Hamas. It's all gaslighting. Yeah, they did 17 years ago. Well, we told them to evacuate. Where are they going to go? The borders aren't open. And there's a place that's no bigger than Philadelphia that has 2 million people in it. Where are they going to go? Stop. Don't do that to me. Oh, well, we didn't bomb the hospital, but you're bombing everything else. So like I just figured that was just another one of the things that you're bombing. There has to be a clear trajectory, but that's all gone. But for the people who are making those kind of excuses 2 weeks later from now, I wonder what they'll still be saying. I don't know. Anyway, you see, there Netanyahu said yesterday he wants to wipe every living creature off the face of Gaza. The West Bank is under siege too. So, okay. Oh, you're pro-Palestine. Listen, I'm pro the truth, bro. Like, and it just happens to go, I'm pro the truth. Okay. Now, thank you for joining, guys. And yeah, that's pretty much the end of the stream. Thank you for joining. I felt real good talking to everybody. And I'll see you at the next one. Bye.